Environmental movement Extinction Rebellion is set to hold another demonstration in central London for 2 weeks from Monday. Previous demonstrations have seen them blocking major streets and landmarks while causing huge transport disruption to millions of commuters. The aim of the climate change protest is to demand the government stops all new investment in fossil fuels.
But this right to protest is costing a lot of money. The Metropolitan Police has revealed that the demonstrations have cost the taxpayer £50 million in policing since 2019. And Scotland Yard has said that in order to police the demonstrations, officers will have to be taken away from dealing with knife crime, domestic abuse and other serious offences. But let's not forget that climate change is a serious issue, as the recent wildfires in Greece and Turkey have shown us.
And with us now to speak about the Extinction Rebellion protest is Donnachadh McCarthy, climate columnist for The Independent. He joins us now. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me.
So, £50 million is quite a steep bill, and we know that our police forces are so stretched. Is it not quite a hard position to defend?
Yeah, I think the Cressida Dick has something to answer here. The over-the-top policing of peaceful protest by Cressida Dick and the Metropolitan Police is actually outrageous in a democracy. Pouring thousands of police into a peaceful protest is not a good use of taxpayers' money. And actually what we need to be looking at is what the costs of climate change and the climate emergency we're in. Just in the last week, the government announced we had to spend £5 billion on just flood defences over the next 5 years, and £1 trillion over the next 30 years if we're going to actually get to net zero. So what we should be looking at is the real criminals in this case, which is the oil corporations, who knew this was happening and continue to profit off it.
Now, so many people have made little changes in their lives to help with climate change. Do you think gluing yourself to railings is more of an attention-seeking thing rather than doing something proactive?
Well, you know, every protest involves disruption. Calling people who actually take action to bring attention to the government's failure to act is normal in a democracy. It goes back in the tradition of Martin Luther King, the suffragettes, and indeed Mahatma Gandhi. It's a very important part of our democracy, peaceful direct action, when the government fails to act. And we have to note the government isn't acting at the level that we need to be doing. Britain is a major centre of the global fossil fuel economy. And unless we act, we're facing a horrendous future, as the IPCC report told us last week.
Is this the right way to be going about it, though?
Well, if you ask
disruption.
Well, the Supreme Court ruled in an injunction last month, that actually blocking the road for a serious crisis like the climate is justified in a climate emergency. But the main protest that Extinction Rebellion ran around last year, it blocked 4 major junctions in London. There are 11,000 junctions in London. Surely, to save our kids, we can actually put up with the inconvenience of peaceful democratic protests at 4 junctions to alert us to the existential crisis that we're facing. It's not me as a journalist, but the head of the United Nations said, unless we start radically cutting carbon emissions last year, we face an existential crisis, i.e. we face the collapse of civilization. So what I would say to Cressida Dick and the Metropolitan Police is their duty is to protect Londoners and to protect Britain. The most serious threat to London is the oil corporations' insistence on continuing the fossil fuel economy. In America, they are charging those corporations with conspiracy to destroy the economy. And they should be charged in the United Kingdom with conspiracy to damage Britain. That's what should be happening, in my opinion.
I just want to pick up on you saying that it's an inconvenience, but, you know, this is taking police away from domestic abuse incidents and places where they're really needed. It's a lot more than an inconvenience, isn't it?
You're absolutely right. So the question is, why is Cressida Dick doing that? Why is she taking peace officers to arrest thousands of peaceful protesters when they should be tackling knife crime and domestic abuse? Why is Cressida Dick doing that? The recent report into the murder inquiry in the Metropolitan Police found Cressida Dick was in charge of an institutionally corrupt organisation. She was found to block the provision of information to that inquiry. The real question is, what is Cressida Dick wasting millions of pounds of taxpayers' money and police time on peaceful needed legitimate protest in our democracy.
I wonder, Donnachadh, though, of course, the Metropolitan Police would argue that they are keeping people and businesses safe from some of the acts of protest that organisations like Extinction Rebellion choose. You know, Rachel's named, gluing themselves to buildings. We've seen the disruption in central London. There were reports of ambulances being blocked by those acts of protest. So surely, because of the extreme lengths the organisation goes to raise awareness of environmental issues, that they are, the police are forced to spend this amount of money and police these protests because they need to keep Londoners or wherever these protests take place and businesses safe.
Well, you say safe. These are actually peaceful protests. Yeah, so the idea that this is a violent or extremist organisation is just simply not true. You've actually seen amazing, you're talking about doctors, nurses, clergy people, students, the absolute establishment of society have become so despairing at the lack of action, and they look at what's going on around the Mediterranean. People being burnt alive. The Mediterranean is a circle of fire as we speak. If you look at the California and Siberia, we are in a serious crisis, and we need to wake up. We in the media need to wake up to the level of crisis. And actually what we should be doing is thanking these people. The amount of money that's being spent on policing is a tiny drop in the ocean of what we're already spending to tackle the damage by the oil corporations.
OK, just finally, Donnachadh, I wonder, though, do you think that when everyday people see sums like £50 million being spent, when, their burglaries go unreported, uninvestigated, when we see knife crime epidemics across places like London, do you think that actually, rather than engendering support for the Extinction Rebellion movement, there's actually a risk that the organisation risks alienating support because people see it as an extremist body rather than something that, like you say, is trying to keep, protect the planet and keep young people, keep the planet going for our children and our children's children?
Well, there's been a lot of investment by, shadowy think tanks to label Extinction Rebellion as an extremist organisation. And so therefore, I don't accept that framing of what they're doing. Sitting down, blocking a road is not extreme when you're actually facing a future of our kids that actually will threaten their civilization. It's a reasonable thing to do. That's why doctors, nurses, teachers and students are out there doing it. So what we should say is, I agree with you, it's a waste of police time. So why doesn't Cressida Dick stop doing what she's doing? And what we should be doing is the government needs to target the extraordinary expansion in aviation, road building, fossil fuels, oil fields, gas fields that they're doing. Britain is in an extraordinary position. We are the head of the COP negotiations this November. Possibly the most extraordinary emergency meeting on the planet in human history. And we should be providing leadership, and instead we're failing to do that. And that's why those young people and those professionals are out in the street protesting this week. And I think we should be thankful to them, not be calling them names.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.